right. Well, let's hop into our first big topic this week, and that is going to be the results of the Brisbane Regional Championships taking place down under. And it was won by an American player. So, not won by an Australian player, not won by a Japanese player, which you seemed to be pretty hype on, thinking that that was going to be the case. But it was Gabriel Smart getting his first ever regional championship win with a deck that I know you were super hype on,
Yeah.
Maridon.
Yeah, I actually think Miraidon I've thought about it a little bit more because I've been confident in this deck for a while. I think actually at EUIC, Miraidon was not a very good play, but I think post EUIC, Prime Catcher Miraidon was by far now this is comes with my experience in the format, like everything I know about the format. I think Prime Catcher Miraidon was by far the best play post EUIC. Um, at least until it maybe won. Like if it had won the tournament right after EUIC, it's possible the meta shifts and it's not as good. But because
Sure.
Miraidon kept not winning, I think Prime Catcher Miraidon was just the best play until it won. But now that's won Brisbane, we'll never know if the next tournament would just be just as good. So yeah, I was pretty hyped to see it get the dub. Congrats to Gabe, of course, getting his first win. He's been chasing it for a while, and it's always the thing that pops into my head whenever a player who hasn't won for a while, but they get their top eights, they're respected as a good player, wins.
Yeah.
Radner last weekend, Smart this weekend. It always makes me think, Grant, when are you going to get to your top? Because Grant's been doing it longer than most, has more top
Yeah.
eights than pretty much anyone who hasn't won at this point.
It's him and
Um,
Rahul. I think Rahul might actually be ahead
oh
of him
yeah,
because Rahul got another top four this weekend as well in Brisbane.
and honestly, like Grant always comes to mind, of course, because he's my friend, testing partner. Um, yeah, I mean Rahul's up there as well alongside Grant for sure. We always rag on Grant a little bit for the lack of a dub, especially with me and Caleb both winning one this season. It was
Yeah.
it has to be coming at some point. You'd think. But now it kind of does feel like it just kind of like I can't even like name another player off the top of my head, but like him and Rahul are definitely the top two that come to mind. Like you said, yeah, Maradon won. Which I'm really happy to see Maradon get its success in this format post my win at Merida. And like I said, I think Prime Catcher Maradon, I think is by far the best play post UIC. Had it won sooner in the format, who knows if it would be have been that good towards the end of this format. And this is basically the exact same 60 that I ran at Vancouver, just minus canceling clone plus uh research, I think. Yeah, literally besides that. Um
Yeah, I think the research is actually kind of decent in Maridon. I know
yeah,
Maddox has been playing a list for a while that has like two research in it because it's
yeah,
like Arvin is so insanely good. Like the early turns, like that's a supporter you want to play to start every single game is Arvin, right? But then
yeah.
after that, Arvin loses like quite a bit of value as the game goes on. And sometimes you just want to like dump the hand and get a reset, and research does that for you, right?
Yeah, at the list I played in at UIC, we had two research in that list, and they were pretty good to be honest. Especially up against like stuff like Dragapult and Gardevoir that tries to hand lock you, or try to like it'd be very disruptive to your hand in the middle and late
Yeah.
game with Iono. So it's like drawing into that is like really really powerful. But um, well, yeah. So whenever you can find room for researches on top of playing like the Quad Arvin, it always feels pretty good, for sure.
Yeah, Arvin is a lot worse to draw into whenever you get Iona to two, and one of the two cards you draw is Arvin. It's a little
Yeah.
bit weaker for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it feels better in the Prime Catcher build though, because then you just go Arvin for Prime Catcher. Whereas with the Secret Box build, you're like, I lose. Or Counter
Sure.
Catcher as well, because sometimes you already burned your Prime. So yeah, it increases the value of your Arvins as the game progresses.
So Gabe with the win with Maridon, and then in second place we got Tim Franklin with a deck that I've seen popping up quite a bit in the last couple of weeks over on
Yeah.
Twitter. I know Grant was super hype on this deck. I think he played it to a cup as well in the last couple weekends. And I forget who it was on Twitter that like kind of popularized this initially, but I've seen this popping up, and it's this Power Glass Roaring Moon Radiant Greninja deck.
Yeah. And to explain the combo here to people who don't know, and it actually like does make me wonder if we had seen this format play out a little bit more. Like, is there that much more depth to this format? How much more popular could this deck could have gotten? Would this prompt Dragapults and Guardians to put Manaphy in their deck? So for anyone who doesn't know, the way this deck works is you go first. you get Greninja into your active with an energy and a power glass, and then you just like draw cards with Rotom or just like pass. And then the power glass accelerates an energy to your Greninja, which means next turn you can attach to Greninja and then use the Moonlight Shuriken to KO like double Drakloak or two Dreepies or two
Yep.
Ralts or two Curlias.
Yep.
Specifically against Gardevoir, you can trap them out of Gardevoir because you can if they go TM Evil for double Curlia, you just KO double Curlia, and then at the end of that turn, Power Glass re-accelerates an energy. So next turn you just go attach double snipe again. And if they choose first, they don't really want to go first because it's so much harder to get like a bunch of Pokemon into play to be able to set up and play the game. So if they go first and they get like one Ralts and a Monkey Dorian pass, you can go, okay, cool, turn one attack with Baby Moon and just kind of start the prize trade aggressively. So
Yeah.
it's a really cool way to utilize Greninja in the matchups that Roaring Moon kind of struggles against, which is Dragapult and I just mentioned it, but I forget what it was, Dragapult and Gardevoir. But your other matchups, you can kind of play more straight up with your Moon EXs and just be fine. So it's a really cool innovation on the Roaring Moon deck for sure.
Yeah, I think it's Andres Lostano. Sorry if I'm saying the last name wrong. Who
That sounds correct.
initially kind of came up with this. So shout out to you because this deck I think has I've seen it pop up quite a bit now. And it would have definitely been interesting to see like because it's like a deck can pop up a little bit on Twitter, but this is what it takes usually for it to kind of become popular in a given
Yeah.
format, right? Someone has to do actually well with it at a major tournament.
I think we would
Um,
have seen them like if we had like another tournament 2 weekends after this one, Manaphy's would
mhm.
probably be back in Gardevoir, back in Dragapult maybe. And I think the next deck we should jump to is the Ceruledge deck during cut because it also had Power Glass in it. So it's not the moon. Oh no, it wasn't this one. What? Oh no, it did have the Power
There's
Glass in there.
Paragraphs.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I like looked at it. I was like, wait, where are the Power Glasses? But they were right there. So literally Ceruledge, we've seen a lot of Ceruledge with Palkia, so you can get access to your Moonlight Shuriken, but it's a lot bigger of an investment. And it also takes up your V-Star power. And we see there's a different V-Star in here, the Zamazenta V-Star, which we've never seen before, I feel like, up to this point. This has been played in Ceruledge. This isn't the first time I've seen people talk about it or play it in the deck. In fact, my first build of Ceruledge, I think, going into this format had the Zamazenta. So it's the thing we've seen before. We've seen it in Japan.
Yeah, the
It's more
Zamazenta V
so,
is kinda cool because
yeah.
it's got a good ability. Like, we actually who was it? Luke Smith, I think, won a regionals with this card in his deck, right?
Yeah, in
Uh,
the Arceus B barrel.
yeah. Yeah, this deck right here, Zamazenta V. Discard your hand, draw 5 cards. So it's like a second Squawkabilly, to be honest, like
Yeah.
at the end of your turn. Really solid in these like a turbo deck like this one, right? Where you're just trying to discard a bunch of resources. And the V Star power, it's arguably one of the stronger. I mean, so many of the you can make arguments for really most of the V Star powers about like how insanely strong they are. But what this one does is during your next turn, all of your Pokemon take 100 less damage from attacks. And in formats where, once you start trading 2 prize cards and um, every single turn, if you're giving up 2 prize KO every single turn, right? Taking 100 less damage, buying you 1 turn, that gets you back ahead.
Yeah, I feel like this like almost sets this like if you get the Zamazenta online, I feel like you're auto winning stuff like Miraidon and stuff like that, which is otherwise a pretty close matchup. Um, and then like the Dragapult matchup as well, taking away their like 4 prize, 6 prize turn on the next turn and then winning the turn after yourself. Yeah, so like that's what it tries to do. And that's why you don't play that allows you if you're playing that, you can't play the Palkia and get access to the Greninja, but you have the power glasses in this deck, which I think is definitely less consistent. You look at the Roaring Moon build, it's got 2 Forest Seal Stone, you got Oh, this has Dark Carmine as well, we have Carmine on top of that, you have Latias and Pecharunt.
We got
I
4
guess
Seal
Pecharunt's
Stone,
not
buddy.
great. Oh, there is a Forest Seal Stone here. Dude, I am just tripping. There is a Forest Seal Stone here. You have the Latias. The biggest thing with this one is, like, you have less ways to get your Greninja in the active, I feel like.
Yeah.
But
You got 4 Jet Energy,
you have
buddy.
you have the Jets. Yeah, you have the Jets. You could open the Badoo. You could open the Greninja. So it's still possible. And they're still trying to abuse that same thing of your tough matchups. Dragon Ball's probably not terrible, but your Guardian matchup is really tough, and it's a pretty big deck in the format right now. Or it was a big deck in that format, and they're just not playing Manaphy. So it's like these decks are just trying to be like, what is the best way I can play the most convenient way to play Greninja, to kind of put a hurting on the Gardevoir deck. We saw that from the Ceruledge as well as the Roaring Moon.
So it's really cool to see these kind of innovations as we come to an end of the format. And it does make you a little disappointed. Like this is what I feel like like this is the type of format that I really enjoy in Pokemon, where it's like things feel like they're constantly changing and new decks are popping up as you move forward through formats. And I don't feel like we experienced that a lot at the end of this rotation, right? Like when the Regidrago dominated formats were happening. It was like it felt like it was kind of difficult for something to emerge as a new contender.
Yeah, I feel like we saw all the innovations, like, happen throughout the format, but it was really just decks that were like it's like, "Oh, here's the cool new way to play Charizard, and it still loses to Regidrago. Here's the
Right.
cool new way to play Dragapult, and it still loses to Regidrago." Like, everything was tried, and just none of it was good, but it felt like everyone was go if you weren't playing Regidrago, everyone was going all out to try and find any answer they could for any deck that they were playing that wasn't Regidrago. Um, so it was less kind of building on the meta. It was more like desperation than like, okay, I here's like this cool new gap in the meta I found to exploit because there's like nothing to exploit against Regidrago basically. Um, but we see this here, the lack of Manaphy. What are the cool new ways to utilize Greninja? They found something to exploit, right?
Yep. So we see Rahul here ran it back with a top four finish here in Brisbane, same 60 that he played alongside the rest of the crew that Isaiah did use to get first place in Stockholm. So not really surprised to see just a week later choosing to run the same 60. And Alexander here with a top eight finish with a really unique build here, having the Coffagrigus EX, which is kind of just like um, a little mini Dragapult, right?
Yeah, that does. It's got the gold coffin ability when it gets knocked out. Search your deck for any one card, and then for 2 second energy, Hollow Hands 110. Put 5 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon in any way you like.
Well, what other decks should we talk about here in this top eight? We did see a Japanese player make it into top cuts. Reiji
Yep.
Nishiguchi, one of the better Japanese players, of course. Playing kind of just a straightforward, what we expect
Yeah.
to see Dragapult deck. There's a Lost City in here, which we've seen pop up a little bit, but it's not super like mainstay. I would say that's kind of the big standout card to me.
I wonder what
Uh,
the maybe Lost Owning Monkey Dories or something like that is one of the that seems
That's
pretty cool.
that's got to be pretty good, right? Because it does Lost Zone stuff when you knock it out with Dusknoir, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I'm
that's
wondering
kind of
like what
cool.
yeah, I'm wondering what else it's like super strong against. Like there's not like a single attacker against maybe just getting rid of Ralts and Curlius as well. It seems like Lost City is
Dude,
usually targeted towards Gardevoir.
you can get rid of 2 Monkey Doria against Gardevoir in
Yeah,
1 turn, which is
they're
pretty
just
good.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that's the main reason is so they can't build up that 2-3 Monkey Dory board state. But yeah, pretty standard Crystal Dragapult in general. I feel like nothing crazy there. I think it's worth mentioning that. Oh, we can get into the gouging fire first, which we did see kind of make a comeback. And this one's actually a little bit weird. It's got the roaring moon in here as well. Obviously, gouging fire popped up initially in this format, getting second to me at Merida. And then we hadn't seen it hadn't really made an appearance again. Actually, one went pretty deep at EUIC. One was on stream at EUIC like in the later rounds, but it didn't make maybe it was even on the winning end or round before the winning end, but we haven't seen it really pop up since then. Here it is again. Got the moon in here as well.
Oh, yeah, what were you gonna say before I clicked on this?
I think it's worth mentioning that Ryuki down there, 12th place, did not make top cut. Top cut did extend down to 11 players, I believe. But yeah, Ryuki here making top cut, or no,
Not
making it to the
making
winning, not making top cut, making it to the winning. And like, I mean, dude, it's just I was like, once I saw like he was going into day two at like 7-1 or something, maybe 7-1. I was like, dude, is Ryuki? I was like, I think Ryuki's just gonna win a third major this season, which is just absurd. He did get to his win and he did lose, running it back with the cloth to Rapagos. Once again, not playing some of those cards that like I think we had been pointing out. No Iron Bundle, no Ursa Luna. Although our specifically, I feel like for where the format was at, where the meta was at, our Chaladon was not very popular. So like the Ursa Luna is definitely less necessary. We see the canceling Cologne in there, tech card for the Clef Keys,
mm,
which had become more prevalent for sure with the slow pulse and the guard wars and stuff like that. So yeah, I just wanted to mention like super impressive from him still. He didn't make top cut here, but got to the win it in at another major.
yeah, super sick run for sure. But yeah, that's Brisbane. Those were the decks. Let's do a recap of our predictions. The
Well, we
first
could. There
one,
was two more players, and well, I guess it does nothing. Well, I think Henry and the Maridon list there from you was basically just the exact same. That was like the same thing as Gabe, but it was like minus heavy ball plus lightning. And then I don't think Henry have anything crazy in his guard war because that's the last top cut player to look at. It's pretty. I think this might even be it's close to the exact same 60 that Bradner 60. Not
yeah, there's
quite, but
something
close.
different here.
No secret box, unfair stamp. is a big thing, I guess.
I think there's a difference in the Pokemon lineup too. Yeah, there's no Bidoof and no Cresselia.
No do. Yeah, interesting. The do seemed really, really powerful. Oh, 3 team Evo. The do seemed really, really powerful up against Dragapult specifically to stop the turn 2
Yeah.
Candy Dragapult. But yeah, it was a 10-player top cut. Christopher did not make top cut. Like I
Yeah.
mentioned, Ryuki was on the winning end. Yeah, let's recap those predictions.
Yeah. So first one was how many Japanese players would there be in cut? You predicted 3. I predicted 2, and we were both wrong. It was just one, just Reggie holding it down for Japan. But it was a
Yeah.
couple of Americans infiltrating.
Yeah.
Rahul and Gabe both making it into top cut.
Also, with this win from Gabe, we're gonna have a pretty funny prediction for their final regional coming up, which will probably one of our predictions is definitely gonna be will an Australian actually win one of their regionals this season
Sheesh.
because Kato won the first one, right? Or who won the first? Was it Kato? I
Kato won one last year, I think. And oh wait, no, it wasn't last year, was it?
think it was the season, right? Because we talked about how Kato didn't have his invite last year, but now he has it
Yeah.
this season. Um, I want to say it's Kato for sure. The most successful Japanese player last season.
Yeah.
Perth, right? Yeah, one Perth. Yeah, the Australians, honestly, it's just kind of like if you're not from Australia, you're looking to win a major, get over there, man. What are we doing? Let's get everyone in, bro. It's free dubs over there, apparently. Well, yeah, we'll see if they can hold
Ooh.
it down for the last one, which I assume will be the biggest one. It'll be Melbourne, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's
Biggest one of this season. The odds will be better for the Australians, more Australians to non-Australians, I assume. So odds will be better. Although maybe the hype's kind of built up around
I think
how
it's the
easy it
same
is.
weekend as another tournament as well.
Ooh, you might it actually might be a 3 major
I
weekend.
think that's actually what it is.
But the thing is, the Japanese players are only ever going to Australia in that situation, and then as long as
Yeah.
there's not an American regional that weekend, then Americans will still probably make their way over to Melbourne.
So there's a special event in Chile that weekend. There's a special event in the Netherlands that weekend. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, we don't really see Latin American or European players go over to Australia, so it's still free pickings for the Japanese players and American players for sure.
You gonna make
I
your way
did
down to Melbourne, buddy?
no registrations already happened. I did not register. Um, wait,
Missed
what was
out.
it? Yeah, yeah. So maybe I next year I think I want to go over there though to get my invite that way next year instead of
Going to Mexico.
yeah instead of going to Mexico, I'm gonna go to Australia to get my world's invite instead. I've decided. So
You've had a
um,
good track record in Australia.
yeah. Also, just like regionals outside of America because I won Stockholm last season.
True.
I won one in Mexico this season, and
Yeah,
now
everyone
I'm
always says
Cayman.
like, "Oh yeah, Azul's the goat with his 8 regionals wins," but they don't look at like, well, one of those was in 2010. You know, one of those was in Mexico. Like, there was
Hey,
like
there was like 1,100
there was
players.
a lot of people
Going
there.
on.
There was a lot of people
Yeah,
there. No shade.
Stockholm
No
is.
shade.
You can throw a little shade at the Stockholm one. I'm not.
There
You
is
can definitely throw
honestly,
shade when I win one of the ones in Australia next season. You can
I
throw
think
all
there
the
should
shade.
be some sort of like agreement though about where we kind of draw a line on some of that stuff. Like, I don't know how many pre-cash era regionals, like how heavy those should be weighted compared
Yeah,
to
for sure.
modern era. Like I feel like that would be a fine distinction. But then also like at the same time, like, you know, there were definitely some early on regionals like in Latin America and in Australia that had like 150 people at them, right?
But yeah, most of like the nationals in Europe had like 40 people, I think, back in the day. Like a lot of them,
Yeah.
not all of them. The UK was probably decently sized, but I think like some of the ones
But
won
I'm
back in the
even
day were like 40,
talking
50
about
players.
like 2017, 2018, like the early of like
Sure,
the
sure,
modern era,
sure.
the international era.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I don't count is Latin American SPEs until this season, basically. Except for maybe some of the bigger ones like the season before. But a lot of those are like really, really small. But yeah, I basically count everything as like a major dub moving this season on personally. And the only thing I didn't really count before was like some of the Latin American SPEs because they were like, the Puerto Rico special event we just looked at one that was 30
30
players.
people,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I'm not counting that as a um, major tournament dub back then. Uh, but yeah, basically anything moving on from this season on is I consider basically a major win for sure. But some of the things you can't like you can only play within like if you're only playing within your region. I mean, everyone was only playing with their region way back in the day. So if 50 people showed up, 50 people showed up.
Our next prediction was pick a player to make top cut. Azul picked Ryuki, which was a decent pick. He was on the winning end, did unfortunately lose. But a better pick was definitely Tim Franklin, and that's who I picked because he got second place. Shout outs to my boy Tim Danklin with the second place finish. And that is two
Back to
tournaments
back.
in a row where I picked a player just from the wide field to make cut, and 2 weekends in a row that player got second place. That's kind of crazy.
People are gonna be hoping for that Chip blessing. Move from here on out. Be like, bless me, Chip. Bless me with that second
Hey,
place.
listen, if you're trying to make top cut in Atlanta, I do
Yeah.
take bribes, you know. Hit me
You will be
up.
you will be
I'll pick
limited
you
to
on the
second. You will be limited to second, but
you know how many people would be totally fine with
yeah,
that?
I would take that. I'd be fine with that.
And then our final um
Mhm.
prediction was how many V Pokemon would there be in Top Cut? And this will be the last time we can make this prediction. Azul made the prediction for 24 V Pokemon. I said 22, and this, of course, counts Vs, V stars, V maxes. And it was 27 this time. 27 V Pokemon in Top Cut. We both undershot it quite a bit.
Yeah, a Lugia made its way into cut, and honestly, 2 Miraidons. Each Miraidon deck plays 4 V Pokemon. There was also 3 Guardies in cut, but that wasn't enough
Yeah, I mean,
for
this
one of us to get it
Ceruledge deck
right.
has the Zamazenta V
Yeah,
Star.
yeah.
You know that counts for two.
That's +4
Yeah.
total. The Miraidons are +4 each, and then, yeah, Lugia was in there for the plus actually, I think the Lugia was +9 because it had the weird ear as well.
Gouging Fire's got Delphox and Entei V. So, yeah, it was boosted up there quite a bit for this last tournament
I think our
in the
predictions
format.
our predictions this time around were way better, like 22 and 24. What did we pick last time? Like,
It was
in
not
the
even
teens?
close to right. Yeah.
Yeah. So way better this time around. And yeah, I think it would have been like 24 and 22 would have still been a decent guess overall. But yeah, definitely the Miraidons and the Lugia making their way into cut definitely hurt us on the prediction for
Yeah.
sure.
For Stockholm, you predicted 18. I said 17, and the actual was 30.
Yeah. But
All
yeah, that's
right.
it. That is it for V Pokemon. So goodbye to V Pokemon V Stars. I mean, official rotation hasn't happened, but it's happened on PTTG Live. Nobody cares about this format. No one's talking about this format, despite it
Well,
still being the current legal standard format.
we did just
Um,
talk about it for 30 minutes.
well, yeah, I just kind of mean, sure, sure. I guess people still have League Cups this weekend and next, but
It's true. It's true.
lucky your League Cups, play
Are
Miraidon.
people allowed to ask rotation questions in your chat now?
Yeah, because it's not about. There's no, they're not still because that's literally a year away. We don't talk about next year's rotation. No, people aren't. Someone asked me about dude, something about the set that comes out in 2 months, and I was like answering the question. I was like, wait, that's 2 months away, and then I timed them out. I started answering the
Well, did you
question.
time yourself out for talking about it?
No, 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 I can't do that.
Why
Who
would
would be
you?
there to time everyone else out if I timed myself out? Can't have that.
I'm sure Gamer would be able to pick up the slack a little bit for you, or the lock or someone.